In 1991, a British courtroom sat down to decide whether a small orange disc was a cake or a biscuit. There was a real judge, real barristers, and real public money behind it. And the thing that finally settled the argument was a Jaffa cake baked 12 inches across, carried into the room on a tray so everybody could have a proper look at it. That is number 1 on this list. Once you understand why it happened, it stops being a joke and turns into the most British story on the shelf. This is not a list about food that tastes strange. It is 15 things sitting in every corner shop right now that make total sense to 60-odd million people and no sense whatsoever to anybody raised anywhere else. A crisp flavoured after a dinner party starter from the 1970s. A spread scraped out of the bottom of a brewery. Sweets named after wines that have never contained a drop of any of them. Nothing here is a nostalgia piece or a discontinued memory. Every single one is on sale this afternoon, within walking distance of you, being eaten by somebody who has never once stopped to question it. Number 15. Twiglets. Twiglets look like something you would rake out from under a hedge, and the taste has broken more visitors than anything else here. They were invented in 1929 by a French biscuit maker called Rondelin at the Peak Freen factory in Bermondsey, who tipped brewers' yeast into a leftover batch of cracker dough. They went on sale in 1932 and have barely changed since. The knobbly wheat sticks are coated in yeast extract, which is why everybody says they taste of Marmite. There is no Marmite in them. Hold that thought because the brewery comes back at number 2. Number 14. Space Raiders. Space Raiders arrived in 1987 with a cartoon alien on the front and a price of 10 pence a bag. That price then sat there, unmoved, for 2 full decades until late 2007, while everything else in the shop quietly doubled. To a British child, 10 pence was the entire economy, and there was nothing else you could buy with it. Visitors look at the bag, look at the price, and assume something has gone wrong at the till. Beef and pickled onion are the ones everybody knows, and we come back to pickled onion because it gets considerably stranger. Number 13. Skips. Here is a crisp that flatly refuses to crunch. Skips launched in 1974. They are made from tapioca starch rather than potato, and when you put one on your tongue, it does not break. It fizzes and collapses, gone before you have decided what to do with it, which is why British children eat them by pressing one to the roof of the mouth and waiting. The flavour they launched with, and the one that still carries the range, is prawn cocktail. Yes, again. We deal with the prawn problem properly at number 7. Number 12. Pork scratchings. Pork scratchings are deep-fried pig skin with the fat layer still attached, salted hard and eaten cold with a pint. This is not warm crackling carved off a Sunday roast. It is cold, heavy and hard enough to worry a filling. The hair is burned off the skin before it goes in the fat, and every so often one gets through, which British drinkers treat as proof of authenticity rather than grounds for complaint. American pork rinds are puffed and airy. Scratchings are dense and completely unapologetic. Number 11. Scampi fries and bacon fries. Behind almost every British bar there is a cardboard display card with little foil packets stapled to it, and somebody has bought enough that you can see the barman through the gap. Scampi is langoustine, a small clawed shellfish, and the snack tastes powerfully of it. Lemon and fish and salt all at once. The ingredients are wheat, maize, oil and flavouring. There is no langoustine anywhere near it. An entire snack category that exists only in pubs, sold off a card rather than a shelf, with no equivalent abroad. Number 10. Hula Hoops. Hula Hoops came out of Rotherham in 1973, hollow rings of potato about the width of a fingertip. The shape is not an accident, and the manufacturer knows exactly what happens next. British adults will tell you, without a flicker of embarrassment, that they eat them off the ends of their fingers, 10 at a time, smallest finger first. Nobody is taught this. Everybody does it. Number 9. Wotsits. The obvious answer here is that Wotsits are just British Cheetos with a sillier name. Wrong. Wotsits landed in 1971 under Golden Wonder, and the interesting part came in 2002 when Walkers bought the brand and seriously planned to rebrand the whole thing as Cheetos. They had already tried selling actual Cheetos in Britain, and it had gone badly, so the plan was quietly dropped, and the orange bag kept its name. Wotsits are lighter, drier, and far less oily. They dissolve instead of crumbling, and this is a country that was offered the global brand and turned it down. Number 8. Pickled Onion Monster Munch. Pickled onion as a flavor aimed squarely at children. Monster Munch launched in 1977 under the name The Prime Monster, which lasted about a year before somebody sensibly changed it. Roast beef came first and pickled onion followed the year after, and it is pickled onion that won the World Cup of Crisps in 2016, a competition a nation of grown adults voted in seriously. The pieces are supposed to be monsters' feet, although the manufacturer has publicly refused to settle that argument and told everybody to decide for themselves. Number 7. Prawn Cocktail Crisps. A potato tastes of potato. So why does an entire aisle of this country taste of shellfish? And why is there no shellfish in any of it? Prawn cocktail flavor is built entirely from flavorings, and nothing that ever lived in the sea goes into that bag. It exists because from the 1960s through to the 1980s, the prawn cocktail was the starter at every ambitious British dinner party. Prawns and sweet Marie Rose sauce piled into a wine glass on a bed of iceberg lettuce. The dish went out of fashion. The crisp never did. Britain may be the only major crisp market on Earth where a 50-year-old seafood starter is a permanent fixture. Number 6. Salt and Shake. Salt and Shake crisps arrive unfinished. You open the bag and there is no salt on the crisps at all, just a small blue sachet sitting in the middle of them. You tear it open, tip it in, close the top and shake the bag yourself. That is the product. British shoppers pay money for the privilege of doing the final step of the manufacturing. It goes back to Frank Smith, who founded Smith's Potato Crisps in 1920 and sold bags with the salt in a twist of blue paper. The country liked the ritual and never let it go. We are about to hit the 2 that break foreign guests fastest, plus the crisp packet colour argument that has divided this country for decades. Before we do, pause and drop it in the comments. Which one of these have you actually tried to explain to a foreign friend and completely failed? I go through the comments on every video, and the stories on this one are going to be better than the list itself. And since you are already paused, one more thing. Nothing here is discontinued. Every item is on a shelf today, which is what makes it so hard to defend. Now, the top 5. Number 5, wine gums. A sweet named after 5 wines sold for over a century with never a drop of wine in it. Wine gums were invented in 1909 by Charles Gordon Maynard, and the awkward part is that his father, Charles Riley Maynard, who owned the company, was a strict Methodist who would not allow alcohol near the business. The son had to sit him down and prove there was no alcohol in the recipe before he was allowed to make them. The father then sold them as an alternative to drink. They are still stamped with the words port, sherry, claret, and burgundy, and they still taste of blackcurrant. Number 4. Chocolate digestives. A digestive biscuit does not aid your digestion, and the chocolate is on the bottom. 2 Scottish doctors developed it in 1839, believing the sodium bicarbonate would settle an acidic stomach, which is where the name came from, and is not how any of that works. McVitie's put their version out in 1892 on a recipe from Alexander Grant, and the chocolate one followed in 1925. Officially, the chocolate is the base. It was designed to be eaten chocolate side down. Britain has been eating it upside down ever since and arguing about it, usually while holding one in a cup of tea for the 3 seconds it will survive. Number 3, cheese and onion and the colour of the bag. Cheese and onion crisps come in a green bag. Ask anybody in Britain over 30 and they will say so with total confidence. Golden Wonder does it that way, and so do the supermarket own brands. Then Walker's, the biggest crisp brand in the country by a distance, puts cheese and onion in blue and salt and vinegar in green, the exact opposite, and says it has always done so. Vast numbers of British adults are certain the packet swapped over at some point, and Gary Lineker started fronting the Walker's adverts back in 1995. Walker's says it never happened, and nobody has produced a packet, an advert, or a photograph proving otherwise. So half the country grabs the wrong bag and blames the manufacturer. Number 2. Marmite. Marmite is a brewery's leftovers in a jar, and this country eats it on toast for breakfast. The German chemist Justus von Liebig worked out in the 1800s that spent brewer's yeast, the sludge left in the tank once the beer is made, could be concentrated and eaten. In 1902, the Marmite Food Extract Company set up in Burton-upon-Trent, then the brewing capital of England, specifically so it could take the waste yeast from the Bass brewery. The jar is named after the French cooking pot on the label. It is loaded with B vitamins, it tastes like salt with strong opinions, and in 1996, the company stopped apologizing and built an advertising campaign around the fact that half the country cannot stand it. That same yeast extract coats the Twiglets back at number 15. Number 1. Jaffa cakes, which brings us back to the courtroom. In Britain, cakes are 0 rated for tax, and chocolate-covered biscuits are charged the full rate, on the reasoning that cake is a necessity and a chocolate biscuit is a luxury. Jaffa cakes have been made since 1927. They are a disc of Genoese sponge with orange jam and a chocolate top, sold in the biscuit aisle the size of a biscuit, eaten straight out of the packet like a biscuit. In 1991, HM Customs and Excise reclassified them as biscuits and taxed them. McVitie's fought it at a tribunal. The defence came in 2 parts. First, McVitie's baked a Jaffa cake 12 inches across and carried it in, to prove that size has nothing to do with whether a thing is a cake. Second, and this is the argument that actually won it, they pointed out that a cake goes hard when it goes stale, while a biscuit goes soft. Leave a Jaffa cake out overnight and it goes hard. Judge Donald Potter ruled it had sufficient characteristics of a cake to be a cake. It stayed untaxed. So an entire country now knows a point of tax law off by heart, will recite it at you unprompted at a bus stop, and will get visibly upset if you call it a biscuit. It is not a biscuit. There was a trial. The shelf is deeper than this. Kendal mint cake is not a cake, and is basically a slab of glucose that went up Everest. Battenberg is a pink and yellow checkerboard wrapped in marzipan, and somewhere in this country right now, somebody is putting hot chips inside a buttered bread roll and calling it a sandwich. None of it was designed to be explained. It is what was on the shelf when everybody here was small, and it never left. If you want the ones that did not survive, the sweets this country lost and still quietly mourns, that video is waiting on screen now.